What a nice contribution to our worship today. Our second reading comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verses 1 through 10. Now, all the tax collectors and the sinners were coming near to hear and listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my lost sheep." Just so, I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over the 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. Or, what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I had lost." Just so, I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. The Gospel of the Lord. Oh, Christ. Over the past 4 weeks, we have been making stops on the journey with Jesus to Jerusalem through the Gospel of Luke. We had Jesus who singled out and healed the healing of a bent-over woman in the synagogue, no less, on a Sunday, no less. We had Jesus verbally took on the Pharisees regarding their table manners in the home of one of the leading Pharisees, lectured them on the fallacies of hierarchy. We had Jesus talking to the crowds following him, challenging them to decide if their discipleship was going to be up to the task. Did they love him over all else? Now, in today's text, Jesus finds himself truly in mixed company. On the one hand, he has tax collectors and other unspecified sinners coming near to listen to him. Standing at the other hand, he has the Pharisees and the scribes, the Jewish leadership for the religion of the day, closely observing and grumbling to each other, and maybe anyone else who would listen, sharing their critique of Jesus' unholy meal practices, an example of his unacceptable behavior. Standing there between these two groups, what does Jesus do? He does what Jesus does. He goes to telling stories. The parable of the lost sheep and the parable of the lost coin. I'd like to frame our thinking about these two parables following a lead of Reverend Dr. Lynn Japinga of Hope College up in Holland, Michigan. She frames thinking by asking and discussing a series of questions, including asking questions that call for some serious reflection on our part. The first would be, why did Jesus tell these parables? Again, we have the Pharisees and the scribes grumbling about the riffraff who were drawn to see Jesus. We need to ask, why would they grumble? Jesus is attracting large crowds to hear about God. Is this not a good thing? The answer to this lies in a broader question of why do people resist God's searching love? Why do they claim to accept God and yet resent the grace Jesus offers to others? The Pharisees and the scribes are singled out because they despise the tax collectors and others that they declare as sinners who have come to Jesus. They may not have been the only ones who despise the tax collectors. After all, tax collectors worked for the Roman government and were considered traitors who sold themselves to the Romans. All Galileans could hate the tax collectors. That added category of sinners might have been criminals or might have been people who just broke ritual purity laws. For the Pharisees, tax collectors and sinners were unacceptable because they did not believe and behave properly. And the scribes and the Pharisees were quick to condemn, but slow to recognize the hollowness of their own righteous behavior. We don't have to look far in our current contentious society to see many polarized groups, Pharisees of our day, that evoke similar disdain for others. People grumble about Republicans and Democrats and even independents. People choose to grumble about Muslims and immigrants and poor people and homeless people and panhandlers and people of other races, liberals and conservatives, advocates of gay marriage and critics of gay marriage. Seems like everyone can find at least one reason to grumble about something or somebody. Like for the Pharisees, the reason for disapproval is not just simple ritual purity, but primarily identity and beliefs. Who is a real American? Who is a real Christian? Who belongs? Who should be allowed to live in the United States and who is worthy of health care benefits? Who gets to decide and answer these questions? Like for the Pharisees, our religious beliefs and traditions form a significant part of our input to these complex issues. Now, some of us lament for the perceived good old days. Yes, those good old days. Yes, I remember as a young faculty member observing two senior colleagues, members I had great respect for, Harold Cloud and John Strait, who would, at faculty meetings, have knocked down, drag out, heated but sincere verbal battles. As an untenured assistant professor, I kind of sat in the back and tried to stay out of the line of fire. But I observed that Harold and John would regularly go fishing together on Saturdays. I'm afraid such tolerance and goodwill have largely disappeared from our current scene. Mean-spirited rhetoric and political and religious debates makes it difficult to recognize the legitimate concerns of the other, much less understand, trust, or compromise when appropriate. Our religious assemblies are not immune from this. Progressive and conservatives form collectives to strategize against each other. Denominations fracture after hotly contested debates and decisions. Maybe our big tent does not prove to be all that big. We cannot avoid how in our national politics, Democrats and Republicans lead the way in finding it difficult to cooperate for the good of the whole. Disagreements amplify and escalate, both sides threaten. Little is accomplished for the consensus good of the whole body. Perhaps more troubling to me is that sometimes the grumbling is directed not to the political and religious opponent, but to those whose sin is being different. They have brown skin, or call God Allah, or by happenstance of birth location speak a different language. Far too often, different gets translated as inferior or dangerous or both. The grumblers may resent the perceived loss when they receive citizenship or unemployment benefits or positive attention that they think they do not deserve. This leads to a series of questions for us to contemplate, like, what is it about human nature that makes us grumble when something good happens to someone else? Do we believe in just merit, or do we believe in mercy? Do we believe that what we have to earn God's grace, or are we begrudging others who seem to receive grace as a gift? Can we celebrate God's goodness to others? Do we resent God's energetic seeking of those we prefer to avoid? Some questions to contemplate. But now we need to be clear about one question, and that is, who is seeking the lost? In these two parables, let this be clear. It is God who is seeking the lost. And in these parables, interestingly, God is imaged as a shepherd and a woman. Note that both images would have offended many of Jesus' followers in the day. Shepherds were often considered uncouth, perhaps unemployable in any other way. Perhaps it was because they took a job that some kid could do. A shepherd did not seem to be a suitable metaphor to say something true and positive about God. However, this shepherd is imagined as one who would risk himself to search for that one lost sheep, not in some nicely fenced pasture of the Midwest, but in the crevices and dark places among the predators of the Galilean wilderness. God searches in the most forbidding places for the lost sheep. Perhaps God last night was in Sam's bar looking for lost sheep. And portraying God as a woman would have been even more offensive. How could the powerful, all-knowing God be imaged as a weak and powerless as a woman in the first century? Jesus, however, chose to compare God to a diligent woman who shined a light to illuminate the dark room and swept until she found the coin. Both shepherd and woman could celebrate with the community when the lost was found. Another way to look at the sheep and the coins in these two parables is that you have two identifiable groups, the lost and the already safely found. So I can ask, do you visualize yourself in the lost or the found? Many Christians automatically identify as safely tucked in with the 99 sheep or the 9 coins. From this perspective, the point of the story would be how we, the found, treat the others who are lost. This is okay, except this almost automatically encourages a sense of superiority. We, the already found, ask if we really want our shepherd out there wandering around in the dark, looking for whatever wayward one is out there. How about protecting us instead? But this misses a real point of the story, to recognize that we are, at some point, the lost who need to be found. Even if we have been obedient sheep for decades, in our humanness, we at times are lost and need to be found. Take heart. We can be assured God still seeks. When sin makes us wander away from the flock, God comes looking for us. When we fail or hurt someone or say the wrong thing, God comes looking for us with love, looking for our restoration. An interesting observation from Barack Obama. He told a story about Senator Robert Byrd, who was a member of the Ku Klux Klan in his youth. Byrd acknowledged regret over the foolishness of youth, a sheep who strayed, he said. Obama responded, "We all have regrets, Senator, but we just ask that in the end, God's grace shines upon us." Another helpful image of loving and seeking and persistent God is illustrated in Margaret Wise Brown's book, The Runaway Bunny. Some of you parents and grandparents may remember reading that story to kids. A little bunny is trying to escape his mother. He offers a series of scenarios for escape. He will be a bird and fly away. His mother says she will be the tree that he comes home to. The bunny says he will become a sailboat and sail away. The mother bunny says she will be the wind and blow where she wants him to go. I hope you can implant in your mind this image of loving, seeking, persistent God. In the end, Jesus' parables remind us that God's love is never content to leave anyone behind. Whether we see ourselves currently among the 99 or admit that we are sometimes one of the ones who wander, the truth of these parables is the same. God seeks, God finds, God rejoices. The shepherd does not stop searching. The woman does not quit sweeping until what is lost is restored. Yes, Pharisees grumbled, but Jesus celebrated. That is the heart of the gospel. Jesus celebrates. We are not called to grumble over who is worthy, but to join in the celebration of the grace when the lost are found, including ourselves. For in the end, we are all lost who have been sought. We are all found and have been rejoiced over. May we go from here today ready to celebrate God's relentless love, both in our own lives and the lives of those around us. Amen.